Welcome to yet another episode of Can.Did Talks. As you all know, this is a show that talks about the story between can and did. A lot of us believe we can do it. Only a few actually go out there, take that extra mile, take that extra risk, and do it. Who I have today on the show is someone that I have been a huge fan of. And when we talk about Indian cinema, a lot of Indian cinema is about hype, is about the noise around it, sometimes the controversies around it. And that's what is usually called a successful cinema. But every now and then, there are some actors who take a different path, who take that risk, who do content based cinema. Who I have today is Sumanth, one of the very famous actors from the Telugu film industry. He came into the industry with a huge legacy on his shoulders. And yet, if I now look at the 17 or 18 films he's done, every single story is an experiment of its own. Suman sir, thank you for accepting my invite at a short notice. Thank you for all the mentoring and guidance you've done to this show as well when I reached out to you. I changed the name of the show thanks to your feedback, and it has been fantastic for us. So, welcome, sir.
Pleasure to be here, Teja. And by the way, small correction, it's about 25 films.
25, okay.
Not 17,
Sorry,
18.
right.
Yeah, 25, 26, even I lost track. About 25 to 26. Yeah, 26, I think. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Ilaundana, how is the journey? When you see yourself today, 2020, and look back from Prema Katha to now, what's your journey according to you, Anna?
Well, it's kind of been like life. It has its ups and downs. It's kind of been a reflection of life. So had many ups, had many downs. But it's something that I always wanted to do, and it's probably like the only thing I know how to do. I never really thought about anything else. And it's keeps me happy, and it's a field. It's a very creative field. So it's like you're never repetitive. You're always playing another character. You're working with new people, so it's always a new experience.
Right.
So there's always a sense of discovery.
Right.
So it's a reflection of life, very much like life.
So Anna, nenu me movies anni chusinapudu I somehow feel you're a fearless actor, not for any other reason, but your story selection, right? Oka Golconda High School aithe enti, meeru Godavari aithe enti, so when I look at your movies, you experiment with the stories. Ante with the pressure you have from the family that you represent, that must be even more of a risk for you, because people have certain expectations, not just of you, but also of the family. Right? So how do you handle that? Ante, are you a rebel? Ante, how do you select these experimental films?
See, first of all, there are two ways about going about it. Like, you have to, sometimes you have to think, of the baggage, like fans, family legacy, yourself. I tend to think of myself first.
Right.
Like, what is going to make me happy, what kind of films that I want to do.
Right.
See, I've done every genre of film. I've done like commercial films, like typical action commercial films like Gauri, and at that point I remember I could have just easily gone off and took that commercial route.
Right.
Basically, to cater to the mainly like the fans, and like and then I took a turn from there, like immediately after Gauri. I think like maybe 2 films after Gauri, basically to when I got the opportunity to do Godavari,
Right.
to deviate from that and to sort of like delve into like different genres which I like.
Right.
Personally, like I want to see, and I tend to lean towards I guess you can call it like contemporary, progressive, more I guess in Telugu film terminology you call them multiplex films, or generally progressive. I like to take chances. So I'm happy that I've kind of touched like most genres,
Right.
and I didn't just go on one track.
Right.
Um,
So when I looked at Idam Jagatana, for example, ante
mm,
our
mm,
movie,
mm,
forget, heroes like you, even for newcomers
mm,
or, actors who are just coming up, that would have been a very
right.
tough subject to say yes to, because it's a very
Mm,
different film, right? Ante,
mm, mm,
it's
mm,
the take of the
mm,
movie is very different. The content is very, very different to
mm,
what this is
mm,
perhaps, like you said, multiplex. I think this is perhaps an OTT film, right? Which
mm,
only
mm, mm,
perhaps a certain segment of audience only would like. Kani,
mm, mm,
somebody like you saying yes to that was very surprising
mm,
for me. And what a beautiful
mm,
movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. ఎలా ఒప్పుకున్నారని
mm.
అంటే
Thank
నాకు
you.
ఐఎమ్ వెరీ క్యూరియస్ టు నో వాట్ వెంట్ బిహైండ్ యూ యాక్సెప్టింగ్ దట్.
Uh, I'm always a little fascinated by gray characters. I don't like to play idealistic characters.
Right,
Sometimes you have to, but like, I believe in flaws of people. I believe in touching on the flaws of even if they do have negative shades, even if they have gray shades.
right,
Um, uh, I like that aspect
right,
generally. Like
right,
even when I read books, even when I watch films, I like the nuances and the layers of. I just don't want this person to be like a goody two shoes all the time, do the right thing, very idealistic. And then I never liked characters like that because
right,
we are not like that. We life is not like that. We have a share of flaws, and and we have to accept them, and then deal with them. So that's one of the reasons why I chose to do a film like that.
right,
Uh, and I always have this inclination or leaning towards. Even now, I keep saying to so many people, I keep telling them, why don't you write like a antagonist, like a very well written antagonist
right.
role, which I'd love to do. Unfortunately, Telugulo I చేయట్లేదు అంత. You see well written antagonists very few and far between.
True, true.
It's happening in Hindi, it's happening in Tamil, but Telugulo ఎందుకో I can just list just a handful of films where the antagonist was written really well.
Right,
And I like a hero with great characters also.
right.
So that's my take on that.
అంటే ఇదం జగత్లో the subtle portrayal of that dark side, right? It
Mm,
actually isn't
mm.
a dark side. I think it's more like a
Yeah,
greed that people have, and every one of us have it.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
అది
yeah,
నాకు చాలా బాగా నచ్చింది. And you spoke about who you are
yeah.
as a person, Anna. Before I got
Mm,
introduced to you, obviously I was talking to the few friends I have in the industry, and
mm,
almost all of them said, this is one guy who's so down to earth, so humble.
mm,
I hear that
mm.
sometimes you just take an Uber and go wherever you need to go, is what I heard.
Used to,
Uh,
I used to do that before COVID.
Now, maybe
I
not
still
yet.
do. Yeah, yeah. I don't have a hassle yet. Now it's become easy. Especially with wearing masks. Nobody really recognizes you
Right.
unless they really peek at you.
Yeah, yeah.
So if there is any one blessing about this thing is like this whole concept of masks,
For you guys,
which is
yeah. For
given
you, for
which is
celebrities,
which is
actually.
given like a yeah, which is given some freedom of travel and everything. But yeah, I'm pretty simple that way. I tend to live life a little quite simply. I don't live life king size, even though I can afford to.
Right,
It's something which I like. To be simple, to be grounded. I guess that's something I've learned from my grandfather.
right,
And Yeah, I like being simple. I like being minimalism is something that I really like, that I enjoy. Whether it's in what you need, what you think, the clothes you wear, the cars you drive. I tend to keep my life quite minimal. I
right.
believe in that.
And that's exactly
Mm,
what I hear from the few people that I spoke in the industry as well. And everybody said,
mm,
he's like a friend. He'll sit,
mm,
he comes to anybody's house. There's no qualms about where you're meeting up. As long as the
yeah,
discussion is productive, Sumanth is there, is what I heard as
yeah.
well. So kudos to you, Anna,
Mm,
because when we think of, especially off late, the last 7 months, I think,
mm,
there's a lot of talk about
mm,
nepotism in the market, right? There's a lot of
mm,
complaints
mm,
about
mm,
how the industry is, and today when I have a
mm,
different perspective to that anyway. So I think a
mm,
father would like
mm.
his son to do well in the field that he's built over a period of time. And yet,
Right, right, right.
when I look at you, Anna, you haven't had, you haven't done those, films that fall into a template, right? uh,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
haven't done films that would otherwise expect coming out of an Akkineni family, right? The grandeur of
Hmm.
things,
Hmm.
the all the build up to the events, right? Is that a
Hmm.
conscious decision
Hmm.
from your side, or you're just, because you're just a very simple minimalistic guy, you tend to like stories and banners that are more minimalistic in nature?
Uh, See, if you really look at my family and the films that they've made, if you really tend to look at it, whether it's my grandfather or even my uncle Nagarjuna or whatever, they've always never like really stuck to one particular genre and or tried to make just mass masala films or something like that. They
Right,
have all delved into so many different genres themselves.
right.
Gitanjali, Shiva, Hello Brother, or my uncle, I can go on, Annamaya, I can
Opiri,
go on
yeah,
and on. And
yeah,
yeah, so has my grandfather. In fact, I think my uncle has probably tried like a lot more genres than my grandfather. My grandfather's experimented like a few times, burnt his fingers like financially, but not critically.
right.
Like Maro Protacham, Sudigundalu, and all my
Correct,
grandfather's done films
correct.
like that. So even from a young age, like I've seen that. I've seen that from my grandfather, and I've seen that from my uncle. Like or so I never wanted to like just be typecast or do only certain kind of films that just keep the bottom line or the commerciality in mind. So I tend to like go off and do different kinds of things. Like
Right.
I'm fortunate that I've had films in every genre, and now like I'm my next film, the film that's due for release very soon. Kapatadari is a very neo noir investigative cop thriller. And then the film I'm doing presently is a gangster comedy.
Right,
Like it's got like a lot of not slapstick old fashioned. It's kind of like it'll be like a Guy Ritchie kind of film.
right, right,
Like dry black humor. Then after that, again, after a long time, like I'm getting back into like doing a romantic
oh wow,
comedy drama. Because the last, which from February, because my last big hit was Malli Rava, which was in 2007, exactly 3 years ago.
right,
And a lot of people are asking me, like, come on, you've tasted success, like, most of the times when you've done rom-coms or romantic dramas, whether it's like whether it's Golconda High School, I'm sorry, Godavari or Mallirava or
Satyam,
Satyam or Madhumasam, whenever
yeah,
Satyam, Madhumasam, like, whenever I've like gone into, done like, uh, romantic films, like, I've generally had good success. So looking forward to like, getting back into the romantic space. And I'm doing something that suits my age, like
right,
I'm not trying to force anything, like something a little modern. So I'm doing different things. I have my tray full of different things right at the moment.
right.
Yeah.
And I must tell you, after Godavari, you have my parents as well who love the movie and how you're fans now. I think it
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
fits to who you are as a person as well. Those subtle love stories that you've done. I can't wait to
Yeah.
watch your
Yeah.
movie soon. Uh,
Yeah.
Ante, see, we've been talking about your hits, right? And we spoke about legacy,
Right.
all of that. Do you hate
Mhm.
any of the films that you've done in your career? I mean, that you
Oh,
probably thought you
of
shouldn't have done?
course. Of course, there are many of them which like I hate. Like I don't even bother like seeing them, or like I get pissed off at myself, like for
Right.
doing them. There are a few of them.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు
Quite a few of them.
when you accept it, obviously you would have been excited about
Yeah,
the story or
yeah,
the script,
yeah,
right? What goes
yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
Anante? Why does this end up? Is it just the way it was taken as a movie? Maybe some technical shortcomings. What would it be? Or you have changed
Yeah,
or evolved as a person?
there's always some problems. Like I probably like didn't. Uh, I wasn't patient enough. I probably like just at that point in time, I just took the best offer that was on the table, and probably definitely I didn't uh, sit on the script enough, and like probably sometimes the director has lost his way, Sometimes the director was removed halfway in some of my films that didn't do well, and like an alternate director was brought in. So things happen, there are many reasons for that, but you know, sometimes the production can go wrong. Many things like that have happened. Not many times, like a few times. So there are many reasons that contribute to a failure of a film as well.
Right, right.
You think it's going to be fine, and then and basically shit hits the fan. And kind of
Yeah.
sometimes even halfway through that this is going off, and like it just becomes a salvage operation. So it
I mean,
happens.
do you get very non-emotional about your films, or does it impact you? Like if a film doesn't do well, it doesn't matter if it's a good film or a
Uh,
bad film, but if a film doesn't do well, does it impact you emotionally?
I'll be I'll be lying and to say that it doesn't affect me emotionally. But uh, in general, one trait of mine that has kind of served me well is I'm attached yet detached regarding everything, regarding everything in life.
Right,
It could be work, could be relationships, could be I am attached yet detached. Maybe
right,
that's something from Buddhism that
exactly.
I've,
They talk
it's
about
probably like
leaf on
sunk into me.
the droplet on the
Yeah,
what is that lotus leaf, right? So it's
yeah,
still there and
yeah.
yet it's
So
not there.
I have a sense of detachment. So so when a film does well, yes, I feel emotionally happy, but a little happy. And
Right,
then if it doesn't do well, I feel sad, but a little sad. All my emotions are they're always moderate. So I try to stay quite balanced. So yes, it does hurt, but I always bend, but I never break. When a film flops.
right, right.
But there's certain films that they're like shit films. I shouldn't even been involved in them. I regret them completely. They're there. I think every actor's got them. Actually, you can ask any actor. They'll have one or two films in their repertoire that they're ashamed of, or they regret. Not ashamed of. Yeah, there's some films I'm ashamed of, and some films I totally regret. Some flop films of mine, I don't regret. I'm not ashamed of them.
Right.
I would have still probably gone ahead and done it like that. Yeah, yeah.
True. Sometimes do you see? I've seen some fantastic films that perhaps haven't been great commercial successes for you now. I think
Right,
Naruda to
right.
Naruda is one of them. I thoroughly enjoyed
Hmm. Oh,
that.
you did. Okay, okay.
Uh, but I don't know. At
Hmm.
least
Interest.
the myth in the
Yeah, I didn't.
market is it didn't
It
do
did.
well.
Yeah, it didn't. It didn't do well. It didn't do well. So one thing I've realized, it's very hard to remake a subject. Especially uh, Ayushmann Khurrana's films or whatever the Vicky Dona. Already, it was a very popular film. And so when people see it, and it was already viewed a lot, so there's always this compare contrast going on. Even for a reviewer,
Right.
that original film will be there in your mind, even subconsciously, even when you see it. So you never can reach up to it. Somewhere we lost the flavor also, I feel, to a certain degree. Maybe I'm not sure if people found the whole sperm donation aspect
Cringe.
palatable for our
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably had that too, so there were probably many reasons for that. Demonetization happened immediately
True.
after the film released. So that kind of took a big toll on it. So the various issues, yeah, yeah. Sometimes they are, even in even in Hollywood or Bollywood, you see many times that there are some gems. There are some good films that unfortunately, due to the lack of marketing or proper marketing, or theatrically they're a flop. I'll
True.
just give you an example. Shawshank Redemption,
Absolutely.
was a disaster. It was a
It
disaster
bombed
when
at
it
the
released.
box office. Yeah. Yeah.
It bombed. Blade Runner, there's so many. The original Blade Runner. There's so many films.
Today we
Hollywood
call them
films as
cult
well.
classics, right? So
Today we call them, today we call them classics. So sometimes some films get their due much later. Yeah.
so I know I've heard of your famous friends in the industry and outside
Mm,
the industry. So I'm not
mm.
going to go there. But do you have go-to people that you rely on, maybe when you're down or you're going through that temporary sadness after a film? Do you rely on somebody's support? Can you take some names? Do you have any go-to people in the industry?
Not really, actually. I'm like I said, like I never get like really down,
Right,
or like really up. So like and I tend to process and deal with things like quite nicely myself. But I do have wonderful friends, and I have a great family structure.
right.
Great, like solid family and solid friends that I've had for all my life. Like same set of friends. So, but I'm kind of a loner. Like so most of the time I tend to process things myself and like work through things myself. I'm quite adept at that. I think quite adept, not completely,
Ante,
but quite
I
adept.
saw some of your interviews, Anna, and I know you mentioned
Mm,
you seemed like you were a handful basis your stories. There's one particular
mm.
interview where you said, you probably jumped walls with CM Jagan Garu at that time. To the person that I'm
Oh,
seeing now, right?
oh.
From the
Mm,
naughtier side that we could gauge from Sumanth from the younger days to this very,
yeah.
very balanced, more clear in your
Mm,
thought process, grounded person that you are. What has changed now?
mm, mm.
Are you really this that I'm seeing
Mm.
in the show, or do you still have that childlike side of yours that we don't get to see?
No, it's still there. Like, when I hang out with friends and like, when we socialize with friends or like, kind of party with friends and all, like, there's a little more fun side that comes out. That's normal for everyone.
Right.
I have that, like, I have this little goofy side, like, with my friends and when I hang out with my niece. I do have a pretty sharp wit. Like, my friends tell me, and a lot of people tell me, like a dry kind of wit, but
Right.
nonetheless, it works. And yeah, so every person has different sides. Like, of course, there will be like a more fun side of me, but generally, I'm kind of balanced. I do believe in like just uh, and I'm calm. Like I'm kind of an introvert. Like most of the time, like and I like being alone. Like I'm not lonely. I'm never lonely. Don't get me wrong.
Right. You're
But I
not a
like being
loner, but you
alone.
like
Like
being alone. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like sort of an akaki. That's what I
Right.
you know I so I function best like that. Even though I have like a very good set of friends, and I really love my alone time.
Right.
Alone time. Yeah,
No, I see
yeah,
this Zen-like, calmness about you sometimes, and it's just not here
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But I've seen some of your other
Uh,
interviews in Telugu and English. Even when you speak on
right.
stage, right? I think you kind of
Mm,
have that calm demeanor about you that I agree that you have. So please don't change that, Anna,
mm.
because there are people paying millions going to
uh,
psychics or
uh,
psychologists to get that calmness. I think you've somehow achieved that already. Kani,
Nobody trust me. Nobody can achieve everything completely. Trust me. I have my share of flaws, and like, but I'm aware. One good thing about it is like I'm pretty self-aware.
right.
Like of whatever flaws that I have, like whatever. I'm very aware of those things. Like I'll be the first one to admit, like if I'm wrong,
Right.
or of my shortcomings, or whatever they may be.
That's usually 50-60% of the battle anyway, Anna, being aware of what we
Hmm.
perhaps are our shortcoming. But
Yeah,
another
yeah,
shortcoming, at least from my perspective, because I'm an entrepreneur, a lot of what we do today is digital,
yeah.
right? And
Right,
today,
right,
more than the product, it's the narrative that sells, which is the story that you create before the movie, the hype that you
right.
create before the movie. And Bahubali perhaps is a
Yeah,
best example of that. Of course, the movie is great,
yeah, yeah,
but it's a marketing
yeah.
case study in itself for any film.
Right,
And yet, you're not a very social media person.
right,
There's the gap,
right.
Anante. Today, everybody's forced to be on social media. You
Mm,
only are very transactional on Twitter, but I haven't seen you active on any
mm,
other social media.
mm.
Isn't that perhaps also one of your shortcomings, Anna, in terms of not
See,
being?
I'm not. I'm not the only one. There's several people like this, several like famous actors, personalities who are not on social media.
Right.
I've been told like Ranbir Kapoor is not on social media. Like so that's just one example. Like
Right.
there's so many people. Denzel Washington, like he's my favorite actor. He's not on social media. He's like
Mm.
social media is for me like I believe it's a double-edged sword. I feel it's necessary, but
Right.
like especially like definitely helps you market yourself. But I use it only as a marketing tool to a certain degree. Like
Right.
I don't like to put my life. I don't like to put my life out. See, a lot of people are making money off of it too. So
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree.
it's yeah, like celebrities like doing interviews, like they've sort of bypassed like the middle press person,
Sure.
like and they're going straight to the public
Right.
if you want to convey something. See, I see the thing is I tend to I predominantly use it, just to market my films, to just to tell what I'm doing, like to the fans, fans or like friends or whatever, like my well wishers. I try to keep it as professional as possible, and sometimes like once in a while, like like when I feel like it, very rarely, I post something personal,
Right.
like so it like a picture of my dog, or like I don't know, like I don't know, me working out to some music or something like that. Like I but I do that very very sparingly. But I'm not a big social media guy.
Right. Right.
Not
I've seen
not
you
much
on
at all.
a
And
need-based interactions on Twitter. Maybe wishing someone for birthdays, or
yeah,
if you like the movie,
even that
talking.
I don't do. Even that I don't do much. Like birthday wishing also, like I've stopped. I used to do that. Like
Right.
now if I want to wish someone, I just call them up, like, and wish them or send them a text, or unless it needs to be like where it needs to be out there on a particular birthday, like now what we're doing is like along with your birthday you're promoting your film, like you're doing something professional, like also on your personal dates. So
Right.
like
Right.
for something like that, it's you need to bring awareness. So it's there, but I use it only to a degree. Yeah.
Right. Right. There's a friend, by the way, from Malaysia that I know, who passes on
Yeah.
her wishes to you because she's a huge fan. So today I told her,
Thank
hey, you
you.
know what? I'm interviewing Sumant. So she
Yeah.
sends a big message to say, "You idiot! Please don't forget to tell him that she apparently
Mm.
loved you in Godavari. She loved you in Idam Jagat." By the way, in
Mm.
Malaysia, that movie is quite popular. There are few people who are not Telugus, by the way, who've seen it on the OTT
Okay.
platforms and said, "We love that movie." So I just wanted to bring that in.
Idi Idam Jagat.
Idam Jagat, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Idam Jagat.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
At least six of my
That's a
comedian
pleasant.
friends in Malaysia who said
Huh.
they love that movie. So నేను మీకు అవి స్క్రీన్ షాట్స్ పంపిస్తాను
I'm
after the
pleasantly surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
I've heard one other person talk about it when I went to UK as well. So I randomly met somebody, a
Right.
Telugu.
Right.
So we generally
Right.
talk about movies over a beer, and
Mm. Mm.
Godavari came up, I think, in the top 10
Yeah.
movies of the last decade that have really touched
Yeah.
on the Telugu
Yeah.
audience. So uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was brilliant, Anna.
Yeah. That film has some real legs.
Yeah,
That's going to. I mean, a lot of people still already call it like a classic, like a modern day classic,
it
and
is. It is.
that'll like really like last for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
It'll age like really well.
The
Like
the
it still feels
balance
very very
of
contemporary.
the balance of a woman's strong character to an equally
Right. Right.
ambitious hero, I think is balanced out
Right.
amazingly well in that film. I think
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
touched everybody's hearts, I believe. uh,
True. True.
so before I let you go on, and I know you're very very busy, you're working on, you're
No,
back to
cool. Cool.
shooting, which is
Yeah.
great news. uh,
Yeah.
Talk to
Yeah.
us about your
I'm promote.
go ahead,
Sorry,
sir.
I was just busy promoting Kapatadare, which is due for release. I don't know whether you saw the
I
teaser.
did, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. That's I'm expecting a lot from that, and then like again shooting for a couple of films. So yeah, keeping busy.
In fact, that
Finally,
was my next question, Anna. When I look
mm,
at the posters, a couple of motion posters that
mm,
got released. On one side,
mm,
one of the posters, it kind of gives me the feeling that there is a lot of humor, right? But there's also a skull. There uh, is there a darker side as
Hmm.
well to your character in that film?
No, I can't give too much of the film, but there's no humor in the film. Like
No.
the little bit of humor, very little bit. Like Venel Kishore's track, and probably just very little bit. But it's again, it's not a film. It's a very straight. It's like an honest film. It didn't try to like inject things which deviate the film and all that. But it's a neo noir investigative cop thriller. It's about
Right.
like this traffic cop. It's not even a regular cop. Like it's a traffic
Right.
cop who aspires to be a
A detective.
to
Yes.
wear the khaki, to
Mhm.
become a proper cop, to be a and his how he comes across a case and from the past that's just been unsolved, and
Right.
how he proceeds to solve that murder is forms that's the story of the film. I'm
And this
pretty
is
proud of it. Who
theater release now or OTT?
absolutely theater release.
Oh,
We are just
fantastic.
waiting on. Yeah, like that. My producer was insistent that it's a has to be a theatrical film, and at least going by the last weekend after Tenet released, the footfall is pretty all right. Like it's Tenet opened really well in
Right.
theaters, so if the trend continues, probably December 25th or like early Jan 1st is what we're looking at. But it's ready
Oh,
for release. Censor is done. Censor guys folks love the film,
very good.
so it's all set. Needs about 2 weeks of promotion, and then it's yours.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic. So I'm excited. I want to watch it in a theater because
yeah,
even
that'll be a good one.
Idam Jagat was definitely a theatrical movie for me. I
Mm,
think that would have
mm,
been a good, 1 hour 45, 2 hours of time spent. So I
mm,
can't wait to watch
mm.
it in the theaters. So good luck for that.
Thank you,
One.
thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
thank you. You won't be
and
disappointed with this one at all.
I am excited about it. I must tell you that. But before I let
Yeah,
you go, one final question: Can we see you in
sure.
a OTT web series anytime? Is that something that interests you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've had a couple of offers, but I will definitely get into that space this year for sure.
Right.
I could have gotten earlier in earlier itself, but uh, for some odd reasons, because of my dates were too busy, I couldn't do. Then the pandemic hit, so I couldn't. I've been looking at it for the last 1 year, and
Right.
definitely now that space has just shot up a lot more. 100%. See, right now I have 3 films on hand, one due for release and one in between shoot and one about to. So once I finish these commitments, if I still feel the best of the writing has yet to come to the Telugu OTT space.
Sure. Sure.
I feel like I feel the best of the writing in Hindi, for example, has come off to the OTT space.
Right.
In fact, I feel that some of their web content is better than their films.
Films. I agree.
Uh, like yeah, like we have our best has not yet come to the web space yet.
Right. Right.
But I think it's just a matter of time. And like the minute I like something, I'll be the first to get into it. I'm actually waiting for it. I'm waiting to do 2 things. Apart from playing lead in in my films, first thing is one, I want to get into the OTT space, and then of course I want to play like a really well written antagonist role, like you know.
Right.
So these are the 2 things that I'm looking forward to in 2021.
And I think you'll be great at that, Anna. With the little we've seen in Idam Jagat, I think you'll make a
Yeah,
great antagonist. I can't wait to for that to happen as well.
yeah.
But thank you for your
I
time. I'm actually pleasantly surprised how easy it was for me to, just reach out to you honestly, and for you to actually
mm,
say yes. I didn't expect that. I expected a lot more pushback, but thank you for encouraging
mm.
us. I know in the scheme of the
Anytime, anytime.
big interviews that you've done, this is perhaps my
No.
podcast
This is
experience with
absolutely.
you. Uh,
Yeah.
but
No, it
thanks a
was a
lot.
pleasure. It was a pleasure to. It was a pleasure, and good luck with like all your next set of interviews and everything. And
Thank
do
you.
be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care.